This is always such a powerful Sunday for me. Every year when we do this final reading, here we've been just steeped, really for weeks now, in the greatness of Christ. And for so many weeks and in so many ways, through words, music, we've acted out the story of his life. We've just more and more taken on, if we're open to do that, just by his qualities, his spiritual qualities, just by being surrounded by it. Here's this little baby who's adorable and adored. Here are his parents adoring him. Here are the angels coming. Everybody just loving this child. And I even said to somebody last week, because, creche scenes are still new to me. I see them here once a year, but I didn't grow up with them, and I didn't study them. And I said to somebody, is the baby always like this, just with his arms up? Because we had several creche scenes around. You just want to grab him and take him and hold him. And as Asha said so beautifully last week, it's not a thought or an effort. It's not even conscious. Your heart just opens with that love. So it's such a beautiful opportunity to really make progress on our own spiritual paths. I was looking at that baby last week, and I thought, he's all of that. He represents unconditional love, hope, forgiveness, all of these beautiful qualities. He's the antithesis of negativity, of jealousy, of greed, of everything we don't want to be. But there's also a fragility to him. And I was thinking this week, as I was between Christmas and now, sort of a little more out in the world. We go from all of this time of being in the church day after day after day. And then we close the church for a week and you're sort of left out there. It was a little frightening, actually. And I thought, really, the birth of Christ consciousness, Jesus' birth really represents the birth of that consciousness, and it represents the birth of that consciousness in each of us. But when we're new to that divine awareness, it is a little fragile. Really needs to be coddled and cared for, and we need to be careful about the company we keep and how we just hold on to that and make sure that we're attending to it. And then we come to New Year's, this reading that is called the Divine Ascension, and a time in the Western world of making resolutions. How are we going to live in this next year? What goals are we going to set for ourselves? And I just had a time yesterday of feeling so grateful that I could contemplate that from a place of having taken on so much of the divine quality of the Christ, just to be living in that. And from that place, think about the next year. It came to me a lot in these past few weeks about how much courage it takes to choose to walk on a spiritual path. How much easier it is in certain ways to live the way really the majority of the world lives, to just want simple things, to lived for some time believing that happiness comes in the acquisition of things. And I don't know, I just thought I could see how easy that would be and how much courage it takes for any of us to say, I'm stepping onto this spiritual path and I am going to live my life in terms of the principles that Christ came to show us. Not the personality, not the outward manifestation, but what is happening inwardly. What are those spiritual principles, spiritual practices? It's hard to make that conscious choice, and it takes our effort in an ongoing way all the time. And of course, we're blessed. We're blessed with this community, whether we live in the community or this community at large. I just had a really profound experience of the way that we're helped onto this path in community that I thought would be good to share right now as we think about resolutions. A couple of weeks ago, maybe not even, I had a fight with a very dear friend of mine. I think we could call it a fight. It was an email fight. So they're always different these days. We get to do email fights, and very dangerous. And as you're typing the words, you say, you know better. Why are you doing this? But you know, many of us do it. And you know, there can always only be a fight if two people believe they have a point that's different from the other person. They are the one who's been hurt. We all know, everybody in this room, I'm sure, has been in a fight with somebody, at least in your mind. And as I said, this is a dear friend. This is somebody who I love deeply and have for years, and known that I've loved them. And even as I was saying to myself about how hurt I was, and how could they hurt me like this? How could they treat me like this? There was a voice going on in my head that was saying to me, you know, of course, your friend is feeling just as hurt as you are. And then I was forming this letter that I was going to write. I've mentioned this in here before. I get very articulate when I'm mad. I'm not one of these women who just breaks down in tears. When I get angry, I write beautiful letters. Beautiful, maybe not beautiful is not the right word. And I was writing the letter, and I was going to show them how they've done this to me many times and how painful it is. And right over here, it wasn't a voice, but this awareness came to me of a deep, unconditional, although it felt not fragile but subtle, but with great clarity, love. It was totally impersonal. It was like an ocean of love. And there I was saying, no, I have a point to make here. And not only that, if I called 5 friends, they would all tell me that I'm right. I have a good argument. But that awareness kept growing, really. And then I said to myself, totally by God's grace, would you rather be right, or would you rather live in that love? This is right in the middle of Christmas. And I started saying to myself, what would Jesus do? And then I said to myself, you don't have to ask yourself. How about sitting at your altar and asking Jesus? And I did. I said, show me the way right now, because I not only love this soul, but we exist together in your love. And I can say to you, I'm talking to you about the grace of living in community, of living in a way where these teachings are constantly pouring in. There was a part of me that so wanted to prove my point. We've all been there. You know that, particularly when you're pretty sure you've got a good one, you know? But then you say to yourself, where will that get you? You are on a path, Shanti. You're moving towards, I am the way, the truth, and the light. Not, now let me show you. That is totally in the opposite direction. We are blessed by community, and we are blessed by the fact that we have friends who are living these teachings and who are, I know just as much as I knew that my friend was certain that he was right, was certain that I had hurt him, maybe not, thinking about how much, realizing that I also felt that. And I knew the instant that realization came to me that he would come to it too. I just knew it. You can't go to that place alone. That takes community, it takes friendship, and more than anything, it takes these great ones coming to us. They come to us to guide us. Christ came and said to us, I am the way and the truth and the light. Meditate on these great incarnations, and you will realize that you are too. And they're not just observing us and watching us to see, hey, is she going to get this right? They're here with us, magnetizing, sending all of this magnetic energy, helping us. And most importantly, they're not somewhere else. They're right here. They're right at this star that we're all trying to follow. This is our guru. Go to the altar and say to Christ, what should I do? And if you don't have an altar, you raise your consciousness to the point between your eyebrows and you say, show me the way. Chances are, he's going to make a much better decision for your soul than you will. They love us. They're there for us. It's what they want for us. There's a wonderful story from the Ramayana, in the Ramayana, of Lord Rama, who was born as a true incarnation of the divine. And his father was king, and he was set to inherit the kingdom. But through some political shenanigans, where they forgot to ask Christ what they should do, he was banned to the forest for a number of years. So he had to leave the kingdom and go into the forest. And his father, who knew who he was, several days later, died of sadness. He just died. So he had a younger brother whose name was Bharata. And Bharata was now going to have to be king. But Bharata was living in the forest as an ascetic and as a devotee of Rama. And he said, I can't be king. They called him out, but he said, this is not my role. So he went into the forest and he found Rama. And he said, you have to come back out. You have to come here and run this kingdom. And Rama said, I can't. I have this dharma that I need to fulfill. You have to be king. So Bharata went back to the kingdom, and he took his brother's slippers and he put them on the throne. And he continued to dress as an ascetic. He continued to live who he was. And whenever an important decision came, a question came to him, he would go to the altar and he would put his head down on his brother's slippers. And he would say, what is the right answer here? What is the solution? How do I move through this? He didn't work with his consciousness. He raised his consciousness to the point between the eyebrows. He called on the guru, and he said, show me the way. This is what we need to do. I was reminded when I heard that story of Master's disciple, Rajasi. Rajasi was a disciple many of us in this room know, who spent a great deal of his time in samadhi. Master said to people who would walk around the grounds and see Rajasi meditating, don't speak. When someone as great as that is meditating, you cannot imagine the blessings that we're accruing. This is who this man was. But when Master died and he assumed leadership of the Self-Realization Fellowship, never did he answer a question, never, without either saying, wait a minute, or wait till tomorrow, or wait for some days, until he could hear the answer from Master. If he knew it right then, he would speak about it. Our gurus represent our spiritual potential. They are who we are looking to become. We have to constantly keep coming back here. We have to find in this world. You see, here we are in this state of the human condition with our conscious mind and our subconscious mind who constantly want to be running the show. And they're certain they're right. That was not my superconscious mind that was sure I was right in that argument. It was at best my conscious mind, and at worst, my subconscious mind. The conscious mind should be serving the superconscious mind. It should be finding ways to make real those inspirations that come to us when we turn to our guru. The subconscious mind, we have to fight with it. It's sitting down here at the base of our spine telling us everything we can't do and telling us, you're stuck. You can't go anywhere. You can't make changes. That's never going to happen. Everything's going to be bad. Worry. Find some difficult way to get through it. That's what the subconscious mind does to us. And if we don't go to battle with it, that's what we'll do. We'll worry about everything. We'll be in a negative frame of mind. We'll see what's wrong. We will definitely make bad choices from the soul perspective. But what if we each find our own slippers, whatever they are? I was just listening to the one of the chants that they were doing. Actually, all 4 chants that were led today were beautiful. But I thought, what if our slipper is whenever we hear that voice say, you can't, you won't, don't even try, oh, everything's going to go wrong. I'm furious with him, and I'm going to show him just how awful he is. There's any number of possible ways it happens. What if that was the trigger? The minute anything like that happens, we say, you know what? I'm going to go put that chant on. I am Om. I am Om. Omnipresence. I am Om. You try chanting that for a few minutes and stay angry with anybody. You try chanting that and your mind might be over here and want to say to you, come on back. Remember, that's Satan. We're following Jesus. We want to follow the one who says to us, I am the way and the truth and the light. Let me share a beautiful story with you that I heard in Nandi tell many, many years ago. Bharat, her husband, who many of you know, he's a highly evolved soul and a delightful human being. He was up on an 8-foot ladder. Now, for anyone who knows Bharat, don't ask me what possessed that man to get up on a ladder. It's the last place you would think of him. But he was trimming trees. When I heard Anandi tell this story, well, let me tell you first. He lost his balance, the ladder started twirling, and he fell from 8 feet flat onto his back. At that point in the story, Anandi says, now this is why I'll always think that Bharat is a better philosopher than he is tree trimmer. Because Bharat's laying there having fallen from 8 foot, flat on his back, and the first thing that comes to his mind is that all karma comes to us as a loving blessing from the divine. That's the immediate thought that went through his mind. So that story came to me, and I thought to myself, here we are at a time where we're about to make some resolutions for the next year. All karma comes to us as a loving opportunity from the divine. I mean, when you think of it, whatever comes to us, remember, Master said, there are no obstacles in life. There are only opportunities. Master, an avatar, said that to us. You know, I'm going to finish that story about Bharat in a minute, but this just came to my mind. When I was with my friend Christy, and I know many of you have heard this, the last time before she passed, this is a woman who left her body a few weeks ago now, but the time when I saw her before she was slipping away, not wanting to talk anymore, not slipping away, bursting out of this body into the light, but she was leaving. But the time before, we were talking about death, and we were talking about a fear of death. And I said to her, it came to me, and I said, Christy, you know, Master and Swamiji have been telling us always, there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing happens when we die. Nothing happens. They tell us that over and over. The only thing that happens is that you're let out of this cement container of self-definitions and of ego and everything that's holding you like this, and you are let free. They keep telling us that. And Christy, they don't lie. They don't lie to us, ever, about anything. So believe them. Hold that thought as you're leaving. Of course, I was saying to myself, get ready to hold the thought when it's your time too, because it might be a little scary. But I do want to hold that thought. So I was thinking about what Bharat said when he was laying on his back. Really not knowing if he had broken his back, if he was going to be paralyzed, if he had had any brain damage. Karma is always a loving blessing from the divine. He didn't say this. It always has the opportunity to take us deeper within. Everything that comes to us is an opportunity for freedom, to find our way to the truth and the light, everything. And he said that. And then I said to myself, remember, they don't lie. Master said, there are no obstacles. Can we remember that? Can that become our slippers that we put our head on just when we think we're going to be saying, why me, or this isn't right, or look how I'm being abused, or whatever it is, all of what it is to say, nope, not an obstacle. It can't be an obstacle. Master told me. So in that story I told you before, which was a huge story in my life, I feel so grateful that the masters came to me. Shanti, what about this love? What about this love? That we always turn to them for those decisions. Thank God, I felt instantly free of everything. It happens to all of us. It's very subtle. We just have to stay attuned and in tune. We have to know what the signals are, and we have to be ready to get the chant and put it on, to go put our head on the altar and say, wait a minute, I'm about to make a bad decision. you come, you show me. Our resolutions for 2019, vis-a-vis this beautiful reading of the divine ascension, he wasn't telling us, as Swamiji said, how great he was. He didn't need to. He was telling us how great we are, what we have, if we only remember. It doesn't matter what our resolutions are. It matters that we make them from a place of inner calm, inner clarity, and that they are always about something that will help us live in terms of our highest awareness. That whatever the resolution is, whatever, that it's something that's going to help us be as full and great spiritually, living in as expansive, uplifted a place as these masters tell us we are. God will wait for us. That was the beauty of the reading from the Gita. Wherever you are, I'll find you there. We have that choice. Why would we make that choice? We could say, let's let 2019 be a year where we don't live in terms of darkness anymore, ever. The world needs our light right now. Let's live in terms of the light. Those of us who are here, we know better. And it's who we are. We have a hard time facing our greatness because we've become accustomed to living in terms of our limitations. We do not need to do that. Say no to that now. Say yes to checking in with the masters as often as we can. Say yes to opening to your true greatness and claiming it, and let it flow through you into the world. Let this be the year. There's no reason to wait. God says, Krishna says, wherever you are, I'll be there. He can be here with us. He can watch us worry. He can also watch us become everything we are, everything we were always meant to be, all of what we've forgotten. Open our hearts, let them guide us, and remember to seek their guidance.